Okay, so we have the correct slides now. We're going to be discussing developing products today, but as we do every week, we're going to go over uh, the upcoming events or upcoming assignments that will be due. We're currently in week 14. We'll be working on product development again today. You're expected to complete homework assignments, Module 6-1, Marketing Concepts, the report, s'mores, newsletter, and also your final submission uh, to ePortfolio, the project that you've been working on, your portfolio project. You'll be expected to submit that by April 18th by 11:59 p.m. And in addition to that, the Module 7 knowledge check. And that will be the last knowledge check for this semester. And then for next week, we'll just go over what's going to be on the final exam. And then this will be your last week for homework. So there's no real homework next week. You're just expected to study for the final. And then week 16 will be the final exam. It'll be in class, and you'll be given the whole time, the class period to complete. It'll be 90 minutes. So as far as the assignments that are due, this is Module 6. That's the newsletter report. You go into Blackboard for this class, go to Modules, Module 6 segmentation assignment, and it's in the assignments area. As far as the Module 7 project or the final submission, you're going to submit that portfolio project to ePortfolio as well as Blackboard. So you'll have this link right here is the Blackboard submission, and then right below it are the instructions on how to submit it to ePortfolio. And there's a video, an accompanying video to let you know how to submit it to ePortfolio. Any questions about that? Now we'll discuss product development. We've previously discussed how to segment a market, how to target that market's audience and position product towards the market. But before we can position a product, there must be a product. When we develop a new product, it's quite a difficult task in itself because when we develop it, marketers need to identify a good or a service consisting of a bundle of tangible and intangible attributes that will satisfy a consumer's need and is received. They receive money in exchange for that good or that product. The overall type of a product will be dependent on whether or not the consumer is an end user consumer or a business to consumer or is it a business, which would be a business to business relationship. Consumer products are those purchased directly by the end user, and business products are those purchased by an organization to assist in reselling of other products. So we'll first talk about the consumer products. Consumer products are typically broken down into four different categories. You have your convenience category, your shopping category, your specialty category, and your unsought category. The convenience products are products that consumers generally use on a daily basis. So things like bread and soap. These products can be purchased without using much thought process or any effort. The shopping products, those require a little more thought on the behalf of the buyer since they may be a little bit more expensive and less frequently purchased. So an example of that would be a camera, a TV, or a computer. The specialty products are items that are purchased infrequently and are a little bit more expensive. Customers or consumers will put a little more extra effort to search for the item and to decide upon whether or not they're going to buy it. So specialty products are generally luxurious items like a Rolex watch or a luxury vehicle or something like that. The last category we have is the on-salt products, and these are products that consumers either they don't know about initially or they're not actually looking for it. Often the unsalt products are not even ones that consumers initially want to buy. And that product would be something, it's an example of that would be something like a homeowner's insurance, life insurance, a fire extinguisher. Again, those are things that customers or consumers aren't really looking for or they don't even know exist at the time. At the end of the day though, the consumer ultimately decides how they're going to classify the product. So based off of the consumer, it'll be a convenience item or shopping item or specialty. It's based off of what they feel the product is used for, and if they're if they care about the price or the promotion. For someone who's extremely wealthy, a luxury car may be a shopping product. Again, something that's it's expensive to most people, but not really expensive to them, and it takes a little bit more of a thought process to actually buy it. So it could be a shopping product. That luxury car can be a shopping product and not be a specialty product. For a photographer, a camera might be a specialty product instead of a shopping product because they may be loyal to a certain brand or a certain camera type. So it's it's very important that they get the 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 camera they want and the different free features that they want. Any questions? Now, business products on the other hand, are generally dependent on the sale of consumer products. For example, if a clothing brand realizes that consumers are demanding their new line of jeans, which is a consumer product, the business will need to purchase more denim, which is a business product, to keep up with whatever the consumer demand is. Business products have classifications also, and they're broken down in two different categories. You have your components and you have your support products. The components are products that will become part of the final product. An example with the jeans, the denim for the jeans would be a component of the finished jeans. Components are usually things like raw materials or product parts. The second category for business products is support products. And this is the support products are described as any item that would be used to assist in the production of another product. And there are four different types of support products. You have your installation, which are things like the factory building or the warehouse facility. The second one is the accessory equipments, which are tools used to create a product, computers in office, something like that. The third thing or different type is supplies. These are small everyday items such as staplers or paper. And then the fourth thing is the industrial services, which would be things like legal services you need to do trademarking for a new product. So, in order for a company to keep growing, they have to introduce new products. we all have a definition of new, but when you're talking about marketing, it's a little bit tricky to define what new is, because new is subjective to whatever the business or the customer believes new is. Some people may view new as a brand new, never before seen product. Others may see it as a new product update with new features. Just think about something like a cell phone. When the iPhone first came out, it was a brand new product. When the new iPhones come out each year now, those are considered updated versions of the predecessor. Both of these products define the word new, but they define it in a totally different way. There are we can also define new based on the degree of learning that is required by a consumer. There's three different classifications of what new products are determined by a degree of whatever the consumer has to learn. So you have your continuous innovation, your dynamically continuous innovation, and then you have your discontinuous innovation. For the continuous innovation, when a product is released, the consumer does not need to learn anything regarding the product. An example of that would be something like toothpaste. When toothpaste, they usually come out with different types of toothpaste with different features or benefits, and the manufacturer has to market those benefits or products or benefits or features. Some toothpaste, they prevent bleeding gums. Others whiten the teeth in a certain amount of days. But a consumer doesn't really need to learn a new way of brushing their teeth. When marketing is a continuous innovation, marketers need to make consumers aware of whatever the new features are, but they don't need to re-educate them on how to use the product. For a dynamically continuous innovation, that does require some type of behavioral change, but it's limited. So just think about the Dyson stick vacuums. That's a good example of a dynamically continuous innovation. The Dyson stick vacuum is has a sleek, unique design. It has a different suction system than other vacuum cleaner. So if you look at this picture, usually you're used to seeing like a bag or something like that right here on the rail. Well, the suction is all coming from right up here. So it's a vacuum cleaner, but it has a different style or a different style and design than other vacuum cleaners. When marketing a product like this Dyson stick vacuum cleaner, the marketer must discuss both what the product features are, how to properly use that item, and how the innovation is different and how it gives advantages to the other vacuum cleaners. The last degree of consumer learning is discontinuous innovation, which that involves the consumer learning a completely new consumption pattern. So in discontinuous innovation, marketers have to teach consumers how to use the innovation. If consumers don't fully know how to use the product, there's a chance that they won't even consider purchasing it. An example of that would be something like electric cars. Now, they're starting to get a little bit more popular, but when electric cars first came out, people were unfamiliar with how they actually worked. They didn't understand the true benefits, and they didn't even know where or how they could charge the car, so, because a lot of gas stations don't have charging stations. So they had to decide, or they had to figure out how to get it charged. And it's just things like that where with a new item like that, you have to teach the consumer or the marketers have to teach consumers how to use that product. Any questions? So before a new product is launched, the marketing department, they have to engage in a product development process. There's different processes in the marketing world, and in developing a product is no exception. So the first step is the new product strategy development. In this step, the company determines if the new products are going to fit with whatever the company's overall goals and objectives are. In a previous chapter, we learned about the SWOT analysis and environmental scanning, and that a marketing team would conduct both of these during that step. It's important to determine if new products have many strengths associated with them. Also, it's important to determine if there are any opportunities for a new product versus external threats. This step is where the strategy begins. It begins being developed. If the strategy helps propel objectives, then you'll move on to the idea generation, which is step two. And the idea generation, this is where the marketing department comes up with the concept of the product using the results from the new product strategy development step, which includes the SWOT analysis and environmental scanning. The marketing team generates new product ideas and strategies. Often, the new product ideas come from both internal and external sources. Businesses, they will seek out new product ideas internally from their employees. So they're going to get feedback from the employees, but they also seek to discover new product ideas from their customers and their suppliers, and even from personal connections such as family members or friends. So after you get through with the idea generation, you move on to the screening and evaluation. So during this, you decide whether or not whatever the idea is, whether it's lucrative or is it innovative. But only screening and evaluating the ideal would determine if it is. And if an ideal isn't, then you're going to scrap the idea. So companies generally evaluate and screen a product. Again, they do it internally and they do it externally. When products are screened internally, again, they get the employees to weigh in on whether the product will meet whatever the company's objective is. By doing external screening, uh, they use concept tests by receiving feedback from customers. So internally, it's the employees. Externally, they're looking to find out things from their customers. And if everything goes as planned, then they move on to the fourth step, which is business analysis. During the business analysis step, it's finally time to choose the features of the product. Uh, they want to determine the go to market strategy. They start to forecast the sales of the product, and then they start making financial projections as well. In the business analysis step, it's really going to make the final decision as to whether the product idea is going to truly fit in with whatever the business objectives and if it's going to actually drive sales. If it does drive sales and it does fit in with the company's objectives, then they move on to the next step, which is the development step. This is where it's now time to take the idea and turn it into a physical product. So you'll start creating the prototype just so that it could be tested out. The prototype will demonstrate whether or not the product can be produced properly, whether it performs correctly, and if it meets whatever quality standards you have. If everything goes okay during the development, then you start putting move on to the next step, which is you put it in the market to get it tested. Market testing is when potential customers actually get exposed to a brand new product to determine on whether or not if they're going to buy it. Oftentimes, companies use a test market to get valuable feedback on whether it's going to or whether or not the product going to get consumed. So if everything goes okay with the testing market, then you move on to the customerization. It's time to actually go to the final step, which this stage is the biggest and the most expensive because this is where you actually have the new product and you're starting to sell it. You launch the product or you produce the product and then you launch it. So this is a very costly step. Even though you did 6 other steps, this is probably the most costly one because you're mass producing a product now after getting all the feedback. Any questions? All right, well, we'll move on to the next slide. I did email you the case, I think on Friday or maybe Saturday morning. Make sure you're using the correct heading for the project. Groups are still losing points because they're not putting the correct heading in there. Question number 3, number 4, and number 5 are expected to be answered with 150 words minimum for each answer. That assignment is due by 11:59 p.m. this evening. Um, if you finish early or if you want to have a one-on-one check-in with me during your group meeting session, I'll be available for that. So if you want, just send me a message through Skype and we can discuss whatever questions you have. Also, uh, as with previous weeks, you have your weekly journal entry. This is how you get to the journal entry. 50-word minimum on what you learned in today's class. And if there's anything that I discussed today or you discussed in your group meeting that you would like reviewed in next week's class.